Hi, I'm very pleased to welcome you to this IMF webinar series. My name is Stephan Siegrist. I'm from Switzerland, and as you can hear, English is not my first language. I hope you will get something out of this presentation. Otherwise, you can always write me on my webpage. The address you will see on the last page of this presentation. Today I would like to talk to you about a climb we did in 2017 in the northwest face of Cerro Kishtwar. We were able to do the first ascent of this face, and we called the new route Har Har Madiev. On the road I was with Thomas Huber, a German climber and since years a good friend, but also the young strong climber Julian Zanker from Switzerland. I have to start a bit earlier than in 2011. It was my first time that I had a chance to travel to the Kashmir Himalayas. And I'm very thankful, and I see as a privilege that we are able to travel to India. So thank you everybody for that. We landed in Delhi, and from Delhi we had 2 days of journey with a bus to Jammu. From there, we packed our material into a jeep up to Gulabgarh. From Gulabgarh, then our trekking started into a beautiful valley named Bud Nala. And already on my first visit in this valley, Bud Nala in the Kashmir, I was really impressed of friendliness of the people, but also impressed to see how the Gujars still live today. After the third day, we finally reached Sumcham, the last village in this valley. And also there we met super friendly people. They even became friends later on. And over all those years, I went now 8 times to the Kashmirs. It was always super nice to go back to see the friends and spend some days with them. After this last village, Sumcham, then there are only some trees around, some birches. At that time, in 2011, we set up our not base camp, the last camp here on the side of a birch, had a nice campfire before the next day. Then we climbed up a steep moraine and followed the moraine to the end, where we could establish in a perfect place our base camp surrounded with the great mountains. In 2011, I was on the expedition with David Lama, who unfortunately died exactly a year ago. It was his first expedition. I was also with Rob Frost from the States, but also Denis Burdet from Switzerland. In the back you see the line we climbed. And that time we thought we would need around 3 days. We finally had 4 days, especially the lower part was a bit more challenging than we thought. Further then, we found a nice, good ice line who brought us up to the ridge, and from there quite easy to this double summit of nearly 6,200 meters of Cerro Kishtwar. So we could do the second ascent of this mountain after Mick Fowler in 1993 made the first ascent. At that time, I always saw this incredibly compact pillar in the northwest face, and I knew I will not come back to try to climb this straight line up to Cerro Kishtwar. In 2017 then we were back in the same base camp together with on the left side you see Julian Zanker, on the right side Thomas Huber. Weather was perfect, and soon we had established our base camp on 5,200 meters. But we had to accept that the glacier from 2011 to 2017 changed a lot. So it wasn't so easy to find the right way through the seracs, the ice towers, and the deep crevasses. Our plan was now to bring all the material what we thought we're gonna need in the phase, the food, the gas, technical equipment, but also the portaletches up to ABC, and then further to this red dot to the actual start of the real climb on Cerro Kishtwar. The first 7 rope lengths were quite easy. Only some parts there were some steep sections, but afterwards in general was not very hard. Then actual pillar started, and there we soon found out that the pillar was super compact. There was barely cracks to be found, and so we had to secure us most of the time with those bird peaks. Bird peaks are the smallest pythons we know in alpinism, and sure, if you are some meters above a bird peak or above 2 or 3 bird peaks, you're not so fast anymore on the way. Then you know if you're going to take a fall, you can maybe rip the first, the second, the third, and it's going to work like a zipper, and hopefully going to break the belay of your friends. So on the first day, we didn't manage to get very far. And soon we had to establish our hotel. See it here in the background. There was on the first floor a double room, and on the second floor a single room for the third person in a hammock. Yeah, the difficulties continued, and we knew if it stays that hard, if the climbing is so hard for the next few hundred meters, you're never gonna climb the face like we expected in 4, maybe 6 days. And now we came to like a hard decision. Then the weather actually was perfect, but we knew if it's not gonna get soon easier, we're not gonna climb the face in even 9 or 12 days. So the third night, we kind of discussed the whole night what would be the best decision to do. Either upside down back to base camp and get equipped with more material, but also more gas and more food, and hope the weather gonna stay good and try a second time on this pillar, or push it further, knowing that most probably we would need to turn around after the next 3 or 4 days, not only climb the halfway up on the pillar. So finally we took the high risk and upside down from this point back to base camp. And you can imagine this decision was not easy. Back in base camp, the weather was still good. We always ask ourselves if that was the right decision or if we kind of gave everything up now. So it's also not easy to relax, also not mentally relaxed. And then as soon you start reading a book, suddenly your brain is back on the mountain, and it's a time who is sometimes much harder than to be on a hard rock climb somewhere in the mountain. Luckily, a good friend of us, his nickname is Commander, visited us in this time in our base camp. And since he knew us and saw us like lying around like dead flies, he said, there's only one thing we can do. You need a yoga lesson to come back to your strengths. And he gave us a perfect yoga lesson. So after this perfect yoga lesson, we were then 3 days later already back on the mountain. From the first try, we left on some hard parts 2 climbing ropes behind, so we didn't have to climb it again. And that helped us to get nearly on that point. We reached the last time back. The first day, the weather was perfectly great. The second day, unfortunately, it started turning to be bad. And the next few days, the weather was super miserable. But we knew that is our chance now. We have enough food, we have enough gas, so we just have to believe in ourselves and give the best. We fight it hard, and I have to say it was most probably one of the hardest expedition from all of us. But finally, on the sixth day, on perfect weather, we reached the summit. It was an incredibly great adventure, and definitely bounded us as friends way more together. Unfortunately, I have to open another sad caption now. Then Julian Zanker, on the right side, died also a year ago in the famous Eiger North Face, not far from our hometown. But I will always remember Julian as a great person, as a great friend, and I will always remember the great time we had all together here in Kashmir on Cerro Kishtwar. On the back, you see the line we climbed, and the green dots is where we established our portalage. The right side hand, you see the topo we drew out of it. And now I thank you very much to join this webinar series, and wish you all the best.